welcome to the Entering the Workforce panel. And today we are joined by Mr. Zachary Crawford. He graduated from Michigan State University with a bachelor's in public policy, and he is currently working in operations and scheduling within the US Senate. And we also are joined by Ms. Maiya Lyn-Ah-Ping, and she is a fourth-year business administration student at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University with a lot of previous internship experience in supply chain, internship at Wells Fargo, and additionally an athletics internship.
We are going to start by asking the panelists some questions. So this is for either of you guys. Can you describe a transformative experience you underwent during your time at university, which has significantly influenced the direction of your current career?
Yeah, I'm happy to start or take that one first. Yeah, so a transformative experience that I underwent at Michigan State was about a year and a half into my time at Michigan State. I actually started as a hospitality business major and then jumped over to public policy and completely changed career paths. And there was definitely a lot of stress in that moment where I didn't know I always kind of knew I wanted to go in the policy direction, but I guess I was always just a little bit nervous to make that leap over to studying public policy. And that was definitely a transformative experience where I literally changed my career path, my area of study, the classes I was taking, and it kind of led me to where I am today. I took a bunch of internships and took some or had a bunch of internships, changed where I was working at the university too, and it led me to working here in Washington, D.C.
Our second question is a little bit more career focused. So this is more on this side of before accepting a new position. We think it's important to have a clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities that are involved. So kind of reflecting on your wishes and what you wish you knew before um, would we think is valuable. So what are some tips that you have for people within the interview process who want to gain more insight on a role? How would you ask those questions or anything else along those lines?
I feel like definitely asking questions during your interview is the perfect thing. Also researching the company, what roles, their mission statement, their values. But the biggest thing is asking questions because it shows the interviewer and the company that you are interested in the job and or role, and that you just have more value to your interview than just saying, "Oh, I have no questions. I'm good to go."
Adding on to what Maiya said, asking questions or going to the interview with questions, doing background research. And then I think also taking or when you're formulating some questions, thinking about what you value in getting feedback from, or what you value in the culture of the office space that you're working in, and then kind of tailoring the questions to figure out what's the best, or tailoring the questions to figure out what their work expectations are, what their communication style is, and then learning about what is most important to you before you are going into that interview.
Thanks. I found both those answers really insightful. So that was amazing. So the next question is, how can you discern whether a challenge in your career is simply that or an indication that the role or environment is not a good fit for you?
I think it honestly comes down to the passion that you feel. If you're still if you're working in a place where you're feeling stressed and you're feeling overwhelmed, and maybe the workplace is a little bit stressful for you, but you're still showing up every day and you just don't want to quit. You're just really driven by whatever the mission of the organization is or the office that you're working in. If you show up with that passion every day and the stress and anxiety aren't getting to you, then that is, I think, a indication that the correct career path for you. Just the environment might not be a good fit.
Yeah, I want to piggyback as well. I definitely understand exactly everything that Zach just said, but I also want to add growth and development because if you're stuck at a job and you have no opportunities for growth and you're not seeing anywhere you're going in the company, then I also feel like that can also be a discernment and challenge because you're just complacent as well.
Yeah, that's very solid advice. And I love how it kind of connects to your pivots and figuring out what companies and organizations are right for you. Similarly, how have you guys connected with people who do similar work as you, but for other organizations and companies?
Honestly, I feel like everybody uses this word, but networking is like the biggest thing in the universe when it comes to looking for a job. But not only networking, but using LinkedIn, using platforms. I would even email a person just to see how their role is on a day-to-day basis. I've done it multiple times and it's giving me more insight in what job I want to do because I want to do with sports. So I have a contact now who works for the NFL in New York. And I literally had a meeting with her and she just gave me a day-to-day about what her roles are and what to expect. So I definitely would say reach out, not just network, but reach out, actually like email the person if you want to, if you actually really want to do that role and you want to figure out what the day-to-day is, definitely reach out as much as you can.
Networking is really important. One of the biggest things that I've learned in my career working in the Senate is not being afraid. And I know that this can kind of vary based on just because in the Senate there's 100 different offices you can reach out to. Not being afraid to cold email people and just asking them to grab a coffee. And then it also makes a little bit of a difference in the Senate because we're all in one building. But we're able to just chit chat or schedule time to chat about either policy interests, what our kind of career goals are, learning a little bit about each other, how the work is structured in each office. And then beyond that, attending like networking events has also been really helpful for me. There's so many different happy hours and like coffee events, breakfast events that are going on just honestly anywhere, but there's so many here in DC too. So that's been a really great way to kind of like break the ice, meet people that work across the spectrum in the public and private sector, and then just finding different community organizations to join as well, because you never know who's going to be at those places, and they could end up either hiring you for your next job or putting a position on your radar that you might not have been thinking of.
Thank you. So I think that networking for a lot of people can be like the most challenging part of entering the workforce. So, like, besides that, what was like the most challenging part of entering the workforce?
It was definitely I have no problem with criticism, but I've gotten a lot of criticism throughout like all the internships that I've done and basically just being open to feedback and not knowing that you're not going to know everything. When I first did supply chain, I didn't know a single thing about supply chain, but they taught me, they trained me, and I was able to get it done. And I ended up being one of the top two people who did the most work throughout my whole internship. So I would only say just take feedback, take the criticism, and just apply it to your work because it will work out in the end.
For me, I'll kind of view this question a little differently. Or for me entering the workforce, the most challenging part was going through the application process last year, trying to find and like putting all the effort into all of the different cover letters, resumes, writing samples sometimes. The actual like the process of trying to find a position that speaks to you, something you're passionate about, something that you're able to go into an interview with and pretty much like knock their socks off pretty much. And it's just something that that was definitely the most challenging part was the application process, sometimes not hearing back or just kind of like sending a resume off, not really sure what's going to happen. If you hear back, that's awesome. If you don't hear back, I mean, just keep going because there is going to be a position out there for you. But sometimes it's really hard just to find the position. So that was definitely the most challenging part that I saw of getting into the workforce, or my experience was the stress and sometimes the worries of working on probably hundreds of applications and trying to figure out which ones you're going to hear back from and which ones you're just like, oh, I've like a couple weeks have gone by. I'm probably not going to hear back from that one, but I'm just going to keep going and just not giving up and being really resilient.
Piggyback again, Zachary. Rejection, yes, that is honestly the thing that needs to be Remember, you might get rejected and you might not get rejected, but you got to understand rejection is going to come when you enter the workforce. Not every company is going to accept you, but you just got to keep applying yourself. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Thank you guys for that insight as well. I think it's really important for us to hear too how hard you guys have worked, and even when you have been knocked down, you had that resilience as well. This is going to be our final question for you guys, but what is one piece of advice you have for people navigating entering the workforce?
I will say for me is to actively look for opportunities and challenges to improve yourself. In every internship that I've done, I've always got what's it called, stretch opportunities, and that really made a difference between my boss and our connection because it showed that I'm looking for more, not just more work, but willing to learn and willing to just improve on myself. So I feel like that is a good one.
I'm just gonna kind of build off of what we were talking about in the last question, which was never just don't give up. Just you'll always find don't be discouraged, don't give up. You'll find job opportunities, internship opportunities, networking opportunities. It can definitely be overwhelming, and there are definitely moments where you're just like, I've put so much into it, I want to get something out of it, but just don't give up. You will find a position that's right for you. And then once you find that position, I would definitely say, building off of what Maiya said, just really or do everything you can to not like work as hard as you can, and then find what interests you and excites you the most, and really make that known to your employers, because they will do everything they can to help you reach that next step or that next level, whatever it might be, if it's from an internship to a full-time position or from one full-time position to another. If you make that known, they'll be able to help you every step of the way.
I know a lot of us have a fear of rejection, so I think especially that tip was really important for us to hear.
I'd like to thank you guys so much for all of that insight, and it was amazing hearing from you guys. What we'd like to say is thank you for your flexibility, and for those who missed today's events, the recording will be available later this week on our website.